What are some examples of mindsets that can impact learning? Before we explore mindsets that facilitate positive and productive learning, we'll start with a couple that can get in the way. Sometimes we can get stuck thinking that everything we do has to be done perfectly. Often this carries the worry that we will be judged by our professors, our family, or our friends if we're not perfect. Sometimes we may even avoid our work because we're afraid it won't be good enough. We certainly want you to care and not just try to get by with minimal effort, but going too far in the other direction can also be problematic. In her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, Brené Brown talks about perfectionism in a way that I think is very relatable to students. She clarifies that perfectionism isn't the same thing as striving to be your best. Striving for excellence feels wonderful because you're trying your very best. Perfectionism feels terrible because your work is somehow never quite good enough. Healthy striving involves telling yourself to do your best rather than worrying about what other people will think. Another mindset that can get in the way is believing, "I'm just not smart enough." Sometimes we incorrectly tell ourselves that we're not really capable of being at university, that other people may have earned it, but that we haven't, or that we don't have what it takes to be successful. The reality is that you are capable enough, or you wouldn't be here. A great deal of our achievement and success with anything comes from the strategic effort and persistence and dedication to our tasks, rather than to our intellect. Now we'll turn our attention to mindsets that enhance learning. Complete this sentence for yourself. I learn best when I feel. Pause this video for a brief moment while you think about or jot down some words or ideas. I'll bet you didn't respond with words like discouraged, incompetent, or overwhelmed. These sorts of words represent mindsets that can get in the way of our learning. My guess is that you completed your sentence with words like capable, confident, engaged, optimistic, focused, supported, and inspired. These words and feelings can help us create positive intentions for our learning and help support productive perspectives and views of ourselves. They contribute to ways of thinking or mindsets that can help us to be successful and reach our academic goals. We'll now explore 3 mindsets that promote successful learning. First, optimism, then growth, and finally, gratitude. Optimism. This is the view that a situation or the future will generally be favorable or positive. It's like the experiment where people are shown a glass with water and asked whether the glass is half empty, the pessimistic perspective, or half full, the optimistic perspective. We can use an example of 2 students in the same program at midterm time. Both are feeling the stress of having a long list of assignments to complete and exams to study for. One of the students has a hard time seeing any good things that might happen and gets stuck. The other student focuses on getting organized and doing the work and stays hopeful that all their hard work will pay off. This is the student with an optimistic mindset. I think a key message about optimism for students is captured nicely in this sentiment. People who wonder whether the glass is half empty or half full are missing the point. The glass is refillable. How will you fill your glass? We can cultivate a more optimistic outlook by asking ourselves questions such as, is this thought helpful? What is a more healthy thought? What would I tell a friend in this situation? Is there another way of looking at this situation? What are some other points of view? Optimism has been linked to many aspects of learning. Intrinsic motivation, the drive to work harder. It helps to endure stressful situations. It can lead to more goal-focused behavior and greater persistence with tasks. Higher optimism has also been associated with higher grades, which is thought to be due to the greater task persistence. Here's an activity for you to try. Using the optimistic mindset worksheet, assess whether you have a pessimistic or optimistic mindset and learn how to create a more positive outlook for yourself. Another mindset that contributes to success in university is commonly called growth mindset. This is the belief that basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. The contrasting mindset is called a fixed mindset, which in a very simplified description is the belief that we were each born with certain abilities and there's not much we can do to change them. Here is a brief summary of some of the characteristics of a growth mindset. Skills come from hard work and can be improved. Challenges are opportunities to grow. Effort is essential for mastery. Feedback is useful and can be learned from. Setbacks serve as a wake-up call to reconsider our strategies for next time. It's normal to have both a fixed and a growth mindset. It's more like a continuum, and some days, in some situations, and with some tasks, it's easier to remember the growth perspective. Carol Dweck is a psychologist and Stanford University professor who is quite well known for her work into these mindset traits. She devotes much of her time to researching why people succeed or don't, and what's within our control to foster success. Dweck talks about a single word which has a lot of power in helping us practice a growth mindset toward our learning. The word yet is a prompt to think about how to move forward. In one of her TED Talks on the power of yet, Dweck shares an example of a school where if students don't pass a course, they get a grade of not yet. Consider this sentiment. I don't have ducks. They are not in a row. I have squirrels. They are at a rave. I don't know about you, but there are definitely days when I can identify completely with this feeling of not having it all together. My ducks are definitely not all in a row all the time. So what happens if we revise this thought, this feeling of not having it all together, with our growth mindset word? Our thought then becomes, I don't have ducks. They are not in a row yet. Yet can be very empowering. It puts each of us in control to determine what we need to do to get where we want to be. Maybe we need to reach out to our professor for clarity about the expectations for completing an assignment. Maybe we need to form a study group with some classmates. Maybe we search for a campus help center. Maybe we commit to spending more time figuring it all out. Here's an activity for you to try. Using the Mindset Continuum worksheet, indicate where you would currently place yourself along each dimension of mindset and where you would ideally like to be. Then, think of steps you can take to move closer to the growth side of the continuum. A third mindset that contributes to successful learning is gratitude. Gratitude involves actively noticing and remembering to have appreciation for the good things in your life. The truth is, there is always more right than wrong, even though it doesn't always seem that way. Researchers have found that having a gratitude mindset supports many aspects of learning, including a greater interest in topics and subjects, increased ability to focus in class, remaining resilient through difficulties with learning, and overall academic performance, just to name a few. Luckily, strengthening our gratitude muscles is something we can all do, and it gets easier with practice. You can get started right now. Think of 3 things that have brought you joy today, or that you're thankful for. They don't have to be big ideas. All of the little moments count just as much as the big ones. Here are some examples to get you started. If something on your list involves another person, consider taking your gratitude a step farther by letting them know. This is like a 2-for-1 deal. You get all the benefits from feeling grateful, and you help brighten someone else's day as well. Here's an activity for you to try. Using the Gratitude Journal worksheet, reflect on 3 things you are thankful for at the start and end of the day and experience how gratitude impacts your mindset.